On behalf of the University of Santo Tomas, I would like to welcome you to this International Conference of Thomism and Asian Cultures. I welcome in a special way our distinguished plenary and parallel session speakers, the representatives of national and international philosophers' associations, academies, and societies, as well as the delegates from various universities and colleges in the Philippines and abroad. This international conference or dialogue among philosophers of various cultures is the brainchild of Professor Dr. Alfredo Ko, the eminent chairman of the Department of Philosophy of the University of Santo Tomas. I would like to publicly express my appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Ko for this initiative, which, together with a series of international conferences to be held this year, somehow gave the quadricentennial celebration of the university its much-needed intellectual and dialogic orientation. After all, the university was founded to primarily foster the intellectual development of its students according to the inspiration of St. Thomas Aquinas, and to extend the invitation to dialogue with various cultures, religions, and nations. True to the spirit of St. Thomas Aquinas, the patron of this university, who taught that we should search for the truth wherever it may be found, the earliest professors and students of the university pursued passionately the intellectual enterprise. Without absolutizing it as the only true philosophy, they tried to teach and write about Thomism according to how they had perceived it, which is as a classic. And as we know, a classic is defined as something timeless because it is forever timely. In 1864, a book entitled Estudios sobre la Filosofía de Santo Tomas triggered the revival of Thomistic philosophy in Spain and later in Europe. This was written by a relatively young philosopher and theologian by the name of Father Severino Gonzalez, a Dominican priest who later became the Cardinal Archbishop of Toledo and Sevilla. Cardinal Severino Gonzalez emerged as one of the foremost promoters in Europe of the Neo-Thomism movement, a movement that had influenced the publication of Pope Leo XIII's encyclical Eterni Patris on August 4, 1879. This encyclical was considered as the Magna Carta of the revival of Thomism. Now I am telling you this because you might be surprised to know that that preeminent and highly influential book of Cardinal Severino Gonzalez was published not in Europe but here in the University of Santo Tomas in 1864. You may also be surprised to know that Cardinal Severino Gonzalez, this great promoter of Neo-Thomism in Spain, was educated mainly not in Spain but also here in the University of Santo Tomas. He came to the university in 1848 and resumed his studies following the established textbook Summa Theologica of St. Thomas. Immediately after his graduation, he was appointed professor of logic and metaphysics until 1859. He taught for 8 years while devoting himself to writing. At the very young age of 31, he published his famous work, Estudios sobre la Filosofía de Santo Tomas, in 3 volumes, which was welcomed in Spain as the most valuable contribution to the revival of Thomism against the prevailing rationalist and materialist tendencies mostly brought about by Cartesian, Kantian, and Hegelian philosophies. For the next few days, we shall be listening and responding to various lectures about Thomism and Asian cultures. It is my hope that the spirit that permeated the work of Father Zatarino Gonzalez will also permeate this conference. It is a spirit that is focused not only on the revival of Thomism, but on the task of rediscovering its openness to other cultures, its inherent ability to see the analogical nature of truth and being, and its demand for intellectual honesty and humility among those who dialogue with others. I pray and hope that this conference will affirm our sense of belonging to a community in the making, a community that transcends differences of tradition-prescribed communication. After all, dialogue is at its best when there is enough leisure for wonder and enough leeway for understanding. Once again, welcome to all of you, and I hope you enjoy your short stay in this 400-year-old University of Santo Tomas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Rector, for the warm welcome. So, we now proceed with the program. To acknowledge the presence of the participants, let's take a listen to Ms. Tracy Llanera, Chair, Secretariat of the Congress.
Reverend Father Rolando de la Rosa Upi, Rector of the University, the Presidents of the International Philosophical Societies and their contingent of plenary speakers and members, esteemed academic officials, delegates to the Quadricentennial International Philosophy Congress, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning. Since launching the call for official participation on the third week of September 2010, we have received an enthusiastic response online from over 250 scholars, students, and enthusiasts of philosophy, religious studies, literature, education, history, culture, and the arts, with 123 participating as parallel paper presenters. This number spans over 22 different countries found in 6 continents and represents around 83 foreign and local academic and religious institutions, universities, and colleges. Today, the Secretariat is happy with the number of walk-in participants this auspicious first day of the conference, so that our total number approximates over 300, a far cry from our humble expectation of less than 150 guests a year ago. Truly, this gathering is the first of its kind in the history of philosophy, not only here in the university, but also in the Philippines, both in terms of diversity and immensity. So on behalf of the convener, Professor Dr. Alfredo Pico, the Department of Philosophy, and the organizing committee, I wish to acknowledge with pride the presence of all the delegates to the Quadricentennial International Philosophy Congress of the University of Santo Tomas. And to preserve this event not only in the crevices of our delighted memories, but on print and technology as well, I would like to request everyone to participate in the photo opportunity on stage for the university to keep for posterity in the next 100 years. So with that, the first set, I would like to request the following. The presidents of the International Philosophical Societies to be joined by our UST officials and the plenary speakers to please occupy your seats on stage. We would like to ask our guests to please take their seats on stage. And next, we would like to call the parallel paper presenters to please join them on stage and stay behind for the photo opportunity. session presenters to please sit down and invite the committee heads and the committee members of the conference to join the guests on stage. Thank you to the organizing committee. And now we would like to ask the guests and all the other delegates to please join our panel of speakers and with the officials on stage for your opportunity. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
To formally introduce the Congress, let us call on Professor Dr. Alfredo Cole, convener.
Reverend Father Rolando de la Rosa, Rector Magnificus of the University of St. Thomas, Presidents of International Philosophical Societies and their contingent of plenary speakers and members, academic officials, delegates to the Quadricentennial International Philosophy Congress of the University of St. Thomas, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The age of Western exploration in the 16th century was not exactly the most auspicious time to spread scholastic philosophy. It was the dawning of an emerging new age brought about by scientific revolution. Europe believed that the search for the way to truth had finally ended, giving rise to a collective European confidence that brought about the age of exploration, conquests, colonization beyond its borders. With renewed mindset, Europe courageously went out to seek new lands. The Roman Catholic Church wasted no time to support its flock like it did during the preceding age of crusades. And so, on 7 June 1494, the Treaty of Tordesillas divided the world for exploration and Christianization between two maritime powers, Spain and Portugal, and resolved the issue caused by Pope Alexander VI's papal bull Inter Caetera. The lands to the west of the new demarcation fell under Spain, while those to the east would be under Portugal. But history destined that the two countries be represented in a historical voyage. The Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan sailed under the Spanish flag and accidentally discovered the scattered islands in the South China Sea, ruled by local chieftains on 16 March 1521. Armed with cross and sword, Spain established dominion over these islands and named the new colony Filipinas after El Rey Felipe II of Spain. It was later to be called Philippines during the American period. Some 80 years into the colonization, a Spanish Dominican sinologist, Father Miguel de Benavides, O.P., established Colegio de Nuestra Señora del Santísimo Rosario on 28 April 1611 in Manila. It was later to be renamed the University of St. Thomas. Two programs are offered in its year of foundation, philosophy and theology, patterned after the European system of tertiary education, and aimed at fulfilling the Church's mission of evangelization. Over time, the university earned for itself prestigious titles and came to be called a la Real y Pontificia Universidad de Santo Tomás de Aquino, Universidad Católica de Filipinas. The title was given by El Rey Carlos III of España in 1785, pontifical by Pope Leo XIII by 1902 in his Constitution Kea Marie Cinco, and the Catholic University of the Philippines by Pope Pius XII in 1947. Meanwhile, in the Old World, Thomism was eclipsed all over Europe by the challenge wrought by Protestantism, secularism, and the scientific revolution of the 18th centuries to this day. Until the early 1900s, when some great Catholic scholars in Italy began to re-examine the writings of St. Thomas Aquinas to contend with the emerging philosophical trends of British empiricism, Kant's transcendental philosophy, Hegel's German idealism, and the growing rationalism, skepticism, and liberalism in the modern age. In response to the growing secularism of the New Age, Pope Leo XIII created the Charter of Neo-Thomism in Ardeni Patris on the 4th of August, 1879, and through the subsequent papal encyclicals, he exemplified the great relevance of Thomistic teachings to the age, which defined the official philosophical church stand all the way to the 21st century. Ardeni Patris received academic support from many great old universities in the continental Europe, Paris and Toulouse in France, Louvain in Belgium, Salamanca in Spain, Padova, Bologna, Napolitana, and Coimbra in Italia, became the homes of human wisdom where Thomistic philosophy, under the shield and authority of the angelic doctor, reigned center stage. As a consequence, Thomistic revival began to be heard with the publication of the works of the neo-scholastics, Gaetano Sanseverino of Napolitana, Matteo Liberatore of Roma, and then in 1850 the birthing of Jesuit periodical Civilita Cattolica all came to the fore. Many continental European Catholic scholars subsequently took heed to the new philosophical hue of the age. The most notable were Joseph Huygens of the Deutschland, André Lacordaire of France, Tommaso Consigliere of the Roman Pontiff from Italia, and most significant to our very own university is Severino Gonzalez of the Philippines and Spain. This was a most remarkable period in the life of Thomistic philosophy. The universities that were subsequently formed outside the Old World by the European colonizers, Dominican School in Manila, University of Santo Tomas in particular, became the vanguard of Thomistic studies. Thomism came to full animation. Roma, Louvain, Fribourg, Paris, Manila, Ottawa, and Washington all became the center of Thomistic learning. In the Philippines, the University of Santo Tomas played a very significant contribution to Thomistic scholarship. Two Dominican priests showed the significant role of the university in the mission of evangelizing the Far East and in the revival of Thomism in our modern time, respectively. Father Domingo Fernandez Navarrete, OP, came to Manila in 1648 and taught Thomism in the halls of the university. The second was Father Severino Gonzalez, OP, a graduate of the University of Santo Tomas, who was instrumental in the influencing of Pope Leo XIII in providing his encyclical Aeternum Patri, an unequivocal endorsement of the teaching of St. Thomas Aquinas, not only in the formation of seminarians to prepare them to become dedicated, competent priests, but also in the education of lay students in every Catholic university. The Dominican fathers brought with them and introduced in the islands the Catholic faith under the philosophical lens of Thomism. Faithful in carrying out its Dominican mandate of Domina Pandi, spreading the light of education and mission work in this part of the globe. The university never relented in its task of preserving, enriching, and transmitting the teachings of the angelic doctor during one of the most trying periods for the Church when it was under attack from all quarters. Somewhere along this religious and intellectual transmission, they encountered the rich array of Asian cultures and pathos that gave rise to a whole gamut of attitude and feelings, ranging from fear and hatred to toleration and acceptance, and even respect and admiration, thereby setting the stage for the epoch-defining dialogue between civilizations. By educating countless seminaries in the tradition of St. Thomas Aquinas, the university has virtually surpassed the original Dominican vision of making Manila as the base and stronghold of its mission work in Asia. It has paved the way to the fruitful engendering of their mission of forming countless priests and bishops steeped in Aquinas' sound doctrine that inevitably provides the leadership needed by the Church in the Philippines itself. Throughout the centuries after its foundation, the university has established itself as a beacon of Catholic faith and vanguard of Aristotelian Thomistic philosophy in the country. Thomism in the University of Santo Tomas has kept up with the times, which is the reason for its enduring presence. But at the same time, no philosophy of the West, either continental or analytic, and no philosophy of the East, from ancient to postmodern, has not been heard within the university portals in its dialogical effort across civilizations. Fresh ideas are welcome in this pontifical university, even as we continue to contemplate on the Catholic tradition. In effect, there is no exclusion in the philosophy of Thomism as practiced in the University of Santo Tomas. And in this way, the university has become truly Catholic and global. This year, we are celebrating 400 years, and philosophy, which is one of the first two programs in its year of inception, takes pride in celebrating the quadricentennial of the university by offering a most intangible gift fitting to the event, the convening of the first ever International Philosophy Congress. In this celebration of our intellectual life in the university, we are here joined by important international philosophical societies. The fifth, Federación Internacional de Société de Philosophie President, Professor Dr. William McBride, and the Secretary General, Professor Dr. Luca Scarantino, were most supportive of this Congress since day one, that for a long period this Congress was posted in the homepage of the FISC website. The Dr. William McBride also sent his message of greeting to the event. Most of all, this gathering is made most meaningful with the participation of four important international philosophical societies: the Academy of Midi, the Asian Association of Christian Philosophers, the World Union of Catholic Philosophical Societies, and the Conférence Mondiale des Institutions Universitaires Catholiques de Philosophie. It was not difficult to think of a good theme for this gathering. The title emerged naturally. Thomism and Asian cultures celebrating 400 years of dialogue across civilizations was simply a thought waiting to be articulated. Thomism because the university was founded under the patronage of St. Thomas, and it played an international role in the revival of Thomistic studies in the 18th century to these days. Asian cultures naturally situates the university in this natural setting in Southeast Asia, as the Catholic University discoursing with the East, celebrating 400 years, give our temporal situation, and finally dialogue across civilizations, because this is the philosophical spirit of the New Age. And as we are all assembled here today to celebrate the gathering of philosophers from over 20 countries, let the philosophical discourses now begin.
Thank you, Dr. Gold, for that scholarly historical introduction. To orient us to the details of the conference, let's take a listen to Dr. Paolo Bolaños, Chair of the Scientific Committee.
Thank you. I would first like to welcome our plenary speakers and our parallel session presenters to the University of Santo Tomas, and also to acknowledge the presence of university officials such as Reverend Father Rolando de la Rosa, the Rector of the University, Professor Clarita Carrillo, Vice Rector for Academic Affairs and Research, Dr. Michael Basco, Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Letters, and I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Lino Baron, College Secretary of the Faculty of Arts and Letters. I'd also like to take advantage of this opportunity to thank the organizing committee, subcommittees, and most especially the convener, Professor Dr. Alfredo Ko, for breathing life into this important event in the University of Santo Tomas. What I will do is simply to present some guiding or some house rules. So what I will be presenting is the proposed conduct or mechanics of the conference proceedings. I would like to humbly seek your indulgence as I go through the conference session guidelines. The conference will have two types of sessions, the plenary sessions and the parallel sessions. A plenary session will be for 1 hour and 30 minutes. The first 5 minutes will be for the introduction of the speaker by the session chair. And this will be followed by the plenary lecture, which will be for 1 hour. After the lecture, 15 minutes will be devoted to the open forum, to be followed by the awarding of the plaque of appreciation and token. And as for the parallel sessions, a parallel session will consist of 3 parallel paper presenters and will last for 1 hour and 30 minutes. The first 5 minutes will be for the introduction of the parallel session participants, which is the responsibility of the assigned session chair. The introduction of the paper presenters should be brief and should take place within the first 5 minutes of the session hour. And as much as possible, the session chair should only mention the following. First, the name and designation of the presenter. Second, institutional affiliation. Third, current position of the presenter. Fourth, title of the paper. And fifth, if the presenter is an important member or officer of a particular club or academic circle, then that too can be briefly mentioned. In case the session chair, and we've had several questions about this, in case the session chair happens to be one of the paper presenters in the session, he or she will have to be introduced by another member of the panel. Presentation should commence right away after the short introductions. Each presenter is given strictly 20 minutes presentation time. And 25 minutes, the rest will be devoted to the open forum. For both the plenary sessions and the parallel sessions, the appointed session chair is tasked to moderate the open forum. Participants who wish to ask questions will be acknowledged upon raising their hands. The inquirer should state his or her name, institutional affiliation, and country of origin. Second, only one question is allowed per person. Rejoinders and replies are discouraged to accommodate more people who want to ask questions. Third, the question must be in interrogative form. Fourth, strict compliance of the schedule should be observed. Fifth, the session chair has the option, perhaps to refusing pertinent questions if there are any which will arise. And lastly, should there be a need for interpreters? We'll see if we could provide interpreters. Fourth, and this goes to the appointed session chairs. An additional task is required of the appointed session chairs. For the parallel sessions, a session chair is requested to submit a one-page summary of the parallel session he or she is chairing. A form of this work for this purpose will be distributed by the parallel session coordinator. The summary form should be submitted to the parallel sessions coordinator immediately after the end of the parallel sessions. And lastly, I'd like to inform everybody that a technical assistant is posted in each lecture hall. So the technical assistant prepares the PowerPoint presentation beforehand, and we are requesting the plenary speakers and the parallel session presenters to coordinate with the technical assistant or the session chair if they wish to use the multimedia facilities for their PowerPoint presentations. The technical assistant also checks the needs of the speaker before, during, and after the presentation, and the technical assistant will keep track of the time. Thank you all for your attention, and I wish you all an intellectually and culturally enriching quadricentennial Congress.